Hello everyone. So today I would like to continue the React Learning app. Um, as of now, on my last video, I have shown that how to configure React. Then using the create React app command, how to create a new project, and we just printed out pretty simple information, hello world, using a React element. So today I would like to enhance our knowledge to do a little bit more. Today's goal, we're gonna create a simple, we're gonna create another app which is called Counter app, and we'll see what can we do using that particular Counter app. So that being said, let's start working on it. So first of all, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna create another app called Counter app. So before do that, let's go to the directory. So the directory we have created in the last video is called learn react. So inside the learn react, we already have this application called React app. So just leave it there as it is. We're gonna create another app called Counter app. So the same command, create React app Counter app. So it will take a few seconds to create the entire workspace for you. All right, then it's already been created. So let's go inside that Counter app and let's start the web server. The command we learned to start the web server. If you don't even remember, as you said, the instruction is given. So we're not going to use yarn for our project. We're going to use npm that we have configured in our last video. So let's use npm. So npm space start. As you see, start with the development server. And it's looking like this. All right then. So now let's start working on it. So inside the Counter app, the first thing we're gonna do, we will create a folder inside the source. So I already explained the folder structure in my last video. So there will be default 3 folders will be created: node modules, public source, and the rest of other record files. So we're gonna go to source. Then in VS Code, the IDE we are using, you can right click and create a folder called components. So inside components, we're gonna create a file called counter.jsx. All right. So now inside the counter.jsx file, we're gonna import the React package. So in last class, we have seen how to use the import command, the JavaScript import command. So today we're gonna learn some shortcut key. As you remember, in my last video, we added two extensions. So if you remember, so the extension we call simple React snippets. So over there, if you go all the way down, it listed out some of the important shortcut that we can utilize, such as imrc. This is the React component we're gonna use today, and class component. We're gonna create a class. So let's get started. So imrc, when you start typing, it will show you the intelligence. Just click in there. As you see, the components has been added. Then if we type cc, then it's showing the intelligence class component. All right, so the skeleton of the class has been created. So now when the your mouse cursor is blinking, so let's give a name of the class. So I would name of the class is counter. As you see, when the mouse is blinking, if you type, it will type in both places. One is counter, and in the bottom is export default counter. So basically this class we are exporting in order to reuse in some other places. All right then. So now take a look, observe something. So it has not formatted as well. So if you save it, so it has an issue that please fix this error. Basically, we don't have any return statement. That's why the error is showing, but we're gonna fix it. So first thing first, let's do one thing. We can return. So what can we do? We can return a inside the parentheses. We can return a header. So what can we print? Let's print hello world for the time being. So this is the HTML tag we already have learned, h1, which stands for header 1. And for the time being, let's remove the state object. We're gonna learn about more this state object. All right, let's save it. So once I save it, you see it is auto formatted. As you remember in our last video that we install a extension ptr code formatter. Basically, that does the job for you. So whenever you save it, it actually automatically formatted for you. So it looks much more nicer and organized. Okay, so what we have done so far, we created a component folder. Inside the components folder, we created a file called counter.jsx. Then using the shortcut, we have added the package, React component package, just typing imrc. Then we also, using the shortcut key, we added the class. We created a class called counter. So you just type cc, then give a class name. So basically, this counter class is inheriting all the information from component class. This is the component, so the React component. So everything is available inside the React component. Everything we are inheriting from there. So now let's, in order to see this hello world, we need to add information into indexjs. So let's come to our source folder, open index.js. So this is auto-generated code for you. So we need to do a little bit of cleanup over here. So what are you gonna do? As you see here, first we're gonna import the class that we have just created. So let's import the class name is counter. So this name is your naming convention again. So you can give a name anything you want to. Then the location is, we are now into the source directory. We need to go a level up. I need to type the form. So we are in a source directory. I need to go to a level up. Then the ID will help you out if you don't remember the folder structure. The folder we created components slash we have created the file is called counter. All right then. So now let's remove this react.strict mode. We do not need that information. And instead of app, let's type counter plus. Then if you save it, it's auto formatted for you. As you see, you have an unused import. So this app import we are not using. So basically you can safely delete this line. And there's another important information for you. So as you see, the comments is given for you. If you want your app to work offline and load faster, you can change unregistered to register below. So you can change from unregistered to register. So if you click dot, you see you have two options, register, unregister, alongside with other property. So we're just gonna use register. And you can leave these comments or you can remove this comment. So once you understand, you can remove this comment. Let's save it. And now let's open the web development server that is kicked off for you earlier. So you see the information is flashed out, which is hello world. All right, so today we have created our first JS class, JavaScript class, and added the info over there and flash it out, and we connect that class with index.js and how to pull up the information from that counter class and flash it out over here. So now we're gonna do some enhancement of our work that we have performed earlier. The things we're gonna do is embedded expressions. So we'll see how to embed expression into our code. So let's go back to the class counter.jsx. So things we're gonna do now, we're gonna add so we're gonna flash it out multiple information. So in return, alongside with hello world, let's create a button using the HTML tag called button. So just next to hello world, so the name of the button I can give is increment, because I'm developing a counter app, so I'm gonna need this button, increment. So once you do that, as you see, it's showing you error. So if you highlight over to the error mark, it's telling you that JSX expression must have one parent element. It's saying that into the in order to flesh it out, this information, you cannot have two HTML tag next to each other. You need to have this information inside a parent tag. So we learn in HTML, in our HTML video, that div basically can contain, inside a div you can contain lots of information, a lot of other HTML tag. So we can utilize that knowledge. So we can introduce a div here. So let's type div. So, and include everything inside div. All right, so let's save it. Let's take a look the beauty of the extension that we have added. So the pretty formatter, so basically it automatically added the parentheses for you and categorized in such a way so it's readable for you. So cool. So now let's check it out in the browser. As you see, it has hello world, it has increment. Now let's take a look in the back of the browser, that how does it store this information. So if you right click and inspect, it will launch the developer tools. As you see here, how the information is categorized for you. So basically the information you're seeing is the index.html. As you see, anything in the browser label you want to see is index.html. So we connect that is index.html, the div tag ID, so with our index.js. So as you go back here in index.js, so first we connect our counter app with this index.js and where to flush this information. The things we have learned yesterday is the root ID that we have in index.html. So let's just open the index.html. Public. So inside the index.html here, so everything is fleshed out inside this div. So let's check it out, the browser. As you see, the structure inside the div, we have another div just now we have created, and inside the div we have two tag, header one and button. Cool. So let's move on. So now we're gonna do some more work. Let's see. We can add a so as you see here in counter.js, now we have a hard-coded value. How about in our web page if we want to flesh it out some dynamic value? So then we're gonna start learning a new way of fleshing out of dynamic value. So in React component, there is we're gonna create an object called state. Is a property of React component. State. So inside that we're gonna create inside that object we'll have we want to create a property called count, and the value at this moment is 0. All right, save it. It will auto format for you. Now let's call this, instead of in hello world, let's flash it out that information. So since this state belongs to this counter class, so in order to call that particular object, we need to use the word. So before we do that, so let's remove this h1 to span. So another command, shortcut command we're going to learn. If you want to rename a particular information in all over the places. Let's say I have a header 1 open tag and close tag, and you want to rename that information together. So select that option and type, and in Mac press Command D, in Windows press Control D. So it's highlighted, then type together and change it to span. Is highlighted. So inside the span, this is another HTML tag, this span. So inside this, put a curly bracket, and over there type this. This is basically representing the class itself. Then call the object state object, and inside that object basically you can call it count, call the attribute, save it, and let's check it out. You see, so it's removed the header and it's showing the 0. So at this moment we have only value 0. So if you change it to 1, save it, it will flash it out for you, 1 and the button together. So let's do more enhancement the code we have. So what are you gonna do now? We're gonna introduce a method. So you already have a method called render, which is used to flash it out the information what you're gonna print into the website. So we can create another method called format count. So what we're gonna do in the format count, we're gonna return the information that if. So the information we're gonna return is this dot state dot count. If this value equal to 0, then type this string called 0, else print the, if it's not 0, then prints the value itself. So this dot state dot count. That's pretty much, sorry. So the syntax is this. So this syntax, if somebody new into the programming, this is a common syntax in pretty much every programming language. So what it's trying to do? So basically is a if else condition. If else condition in a shorter form in one line, you can do this, or if you're not comfortable, you can also type the if then else condition. We're gonna show in both way. So as you see here, this dot state dot count, basically I'm calling this property, count property. If this value equal to 0, then print 0. If else, so the semicolon stands for else, print the count property itself if it's not 0. So at this moment we have 1, so basically it's gonna print 1. If we have 0, then in a string it will print 0. So no needs that. So save it. Now we need to call this method in order to activate. So inside this curly bracket, just replace this, simply call it. So we have format count. Okay, now check into the website. So it's supposed to print 1. As you see, it's printing 1 and increment. So let's play it around, make sure it's working. instead of 1, replace with 0. Check it out. Okay, it prints 0. Alright, so our function is working. So as I told you, if you are not comfortable with this format, basically this is a very handy way of shortening the line. So once you're familiar, it will be really convenient how to print if else information in one line. If you're not comfortable, you can do another way around. So let's comment it out, this line. And add the information. So let's comment here. So instead of writing everything in one line, you can use, so let's do if this state dot count zero, then return 0, else return the value itself. That's it. Save it. So as you see here, so that's why sometimes we need to understand the shorter format. This 4 line of code we can convert into 1 line. So it's not big challenging. If you're keep practicing it, you will understand how to use if then else in if else condition in 1 line. So let's test it out. The same representation, you're gonna see the same results. So now it's 0. You're gonna see in the website it flashes out 0. As you see, let's check it out in, change it to 1, save it. It's gonna flash it out to 1. Cool. So now let's remove this line and revert back to the original, that one we have. So now as you see here, I mean, it's kind of redundancy. So these dot state dot count, these dot state dot count, we can have utilize the concept of constant. So what we're gonna do? So we're gonna create a constant, CONS. Then we can create the count property. We can make a constant of the count property from these dot state. Then instead of this whole thing, we select all together, Command D to change. Save it. So this is another way of creating a constant component that you can do. That you can do in JavaScript. So as you see, we are same information repeating over and over. So instead of, you can shorten that particular line. So basically what we are creating a constant count property that out of this dot state object. So it should work as well. So let's check it out, save it, and make sure it's not broken. Yes, it's there. So let's make it 0, save it, it's working. Let's put something else, let's say 5 something. Let's do inspect this information and see how does it shows. So inspect. All right, you see in a span it's flashing out the 5, and it doesn't show in the over here. It's just gonna flash it out whatever you ask in index.html file. So it will only flash the information that is required for the user. So you're not gonna see all the development code in the console. Yeah, you're not gonna see all the code we have written to flash it out those information in counter.js. All right, cool. So just in a brief overview that what we have covered so far. So first of all, we gain the knowledge how to create a class in in our JavaScript. So we created a class. We learned a shortcut how to add those information, like how to add a import package, how to create a class with the shortcut command. Then what we have done, then we basically learn how to create a method. Inside that method, how to call the property of the class. Then we familiar ourselves how to call that method inside the render method. Then we familiar ourselves with the state object. This a state object we pretty much calling inside from the React component. Is a property of the React component. We call this to basically flash it out any dynamic information in our website. Then we have also learned how to group together multiple tags in one parent element. So inside div, we group together span and button. So that's the overview of today's video. So in next video, we're gonna learn more advanced stuff. We're gonna learn how to set an attributes. That's pretty much. So please do practice more and more. If you like my video, please give a thumbs up, share with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel so that whenever the next video is available, you all gonna get a notification. All right then, have a wonderful day.